Hi, my name is Miriam. I'm 21 years old. I'm taking this class because I find the interest in learning about our history and how it's still being affected throughout the years. And this is my boyfriend. His name's Francisco Cruz.
Hello, my name is Francisco Cruz. I apologize if I sound weird. I'm sick. And by the way, English is not my first language, so we're gonna try our best.
Yes, and by the way, we do have our notes in front of us so we could stay up to what we're talking about. So I am in class History 1, 1301. We will be talking about the film The 13 and how it's still being affected throughout the years, and it continues to be affected now.
What do you think about what we watch and read in the articles?
The saying of this film is that it talks about the history, racial inequality throughout the U.S., especially towards the black people, and it's how it's still being affected throughout this point until now.
Yeah, so this inequality that was going on and it still is going until now. It was pretty messed up just because I don't think anyone should have been treated in any bad way based on what color the person was.
Yes, you're right. I don't think it was okay that they were being treated that way only based on their color and how they were being seen, especially in black male, because after the Civil War, Africans were being arrested in the inmates just for loitering or vagrancy, and their punishment for it was to provide labor to rebuild the economy, which I almost forgot to say. Black males were also being seen as cannibalistic and animalistic males, which many women were being terrified of them, which they tried to commit suicide or did commit suicide instead of just being raped by them. So in many ways it did affect the people, especially the woman in that point.
So what are the main point you want to review today?
I think the main points that I would want to go over is how it started, how they were being put in prison, and how its population has started expanding throughout the years. Also, how laws came in and helped them in certain ways.
Okay, now that we recovered the introduction,
Recovered or covered?
cover the introduction. What is the first topic you want to dive into?
Well, let's start off with how laws were being passed through regulation and relegated African Americans to a permanent second-class segregation, which came by to be something more legal.
At the point, the segregation law affects African American because it was a system that did drive from the effort of white Americans to keep African American in subordinate status.
Yes, status, I think.
By denying them the equal rights to public facilities and ensuring the black life apart from the whites.
Exactly, more than 300,000 Negroes were denied to vote, along with order of the police that only colored people were allowed in building places. As said in the film, many black people were afraid of the police just because they didn't have any rights to do anything. So African Americans, just by seeing posters or signs that said colors are not allowed and just having to deal with the indignation of being told that you can't go through because you're black, was being part of racism, because everyone should have the equality to be able to do and go to places. So as being said, for the black people, their worst nightmare was to be arrested from a white male officer because they didn't know what the officer was capable of doing to them.
Yes, so that's when the civil rights came through,
Through or through?
through.
Through.
I start noticing noticing the necessity of building and not just a civil right movement, movement, but a human right. The civil right movement did achieve achieve their goals, goals. What do you say?
Goals. Achieve
Goals.
their goals.
And it secured African American equals access to many things. For example, access to restaurants, transportation, and many other facilities.
Yes, I agree. Exactly. So once they said that the civil right was going to be passing a law and for them voting act, and they did try fixing their mistakes that were made before, which they admitted they did wrong by taking people's rights away. So they decided by 1865 that they were going to give justice to the people. So what do you have to say about that?
Correct. They did promise that, well, at least they say it was a big possibility that it will happen, which it made the whites be scared that the Negroes will come after them based on how they were treated by them all.
Yes, which it did make the whites terrified of what the Negroes could possibly do to them, because they were scared that they would want to try to repay for the nation. So, being said, that is when crime started to increase within the years, because back in the 20th century, population in prisons did not go up as much or down as much, but things did start changing throughout the years. And in 1970, that's when the era called mass incarceration started.
So by then, in between 1970s and 1980s, the population increased by 156,608 prisoners in jail, and most of them are black and hippies due to possession of drugs. Drugs.
Correct. And being said by Ronald Reagan, he determined that drugs was being a problem to a lot of people based on how population started increasing when drugs came around, and how drugs and alcohols came around. So he did state that a war against drugs is a war against individuals. So his saying was trying to say that it's all up to you, and you have to control your own drugs and control yourself, because if not, then no one can help you, and all you have to do is repay the nation through your actions. And I totally agree.
Yeah, I agree with the part that he says it's a battle of their own, but I don't think it's okay that they wouldn't want to provide any help to them just because they were prisoners.
And I totally agree with you, because I said equality is what they needed, and they weren't given that equality. So in the film Reagan, what's his name, right? Reagan.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Reagan.
Yeah. Used his wife to help say no to drugs, which it helped a lot of young people to say no to drugs, and has educated them, as well as looking out for others, which it was not a surprise to her or anyone, because ever since the Great Depression, the economy has been in the worst mess ever. So by then, the 1980s, the population had already increased even more.
So the main deal here that happened was that Nancy and her husband are the reason that the white President Buell
Oh, the person
racism as was not okay, and that there has to be a chance in
chance or a change.
I mean a change. I'm sorry. and there was people looking at each other, because he was trying to get people to understand that the Americans' public enemy number one was that in the United States, the abuse of drugs is a problem which not everyone agree with, and want to blame the Negroes and Hispanic for everything.
Oh, you're right. I see what you're trying to say. And that's when people started consuming drugs and alcohol and became the bigger problem in the US, which increased the population of prisoners.
So at the point, it's when it got to a point where they didn't have any more room for the incoming prisoners, so they had to let some prisoners that they were not in the 3 March strike. No, as the people who didn't have high crimes.
Yeah, prisoners. Yeah, no, yeah. So basically, yeah, many prisoners that had 3 strike marks with awaiting trials to see how long their stay was going to be and where they were going to be told. So, no, how long their trial was going to be, and they were also being told that they can go for a trial and risk being in for 3 years or being in for a lifetime, which they were. It was a possibility they could be risking themselves to be in there for a lifetime. As in the film, it said that sheriffs, they have to release over 4,200 or even more. I'm not really sure exactly how much prisoners, but if it wasn't a big crime, they can assure that the 3 strike prisoners had to be put in there. So what do you think about the 3 March strikes?
I think it was a good decision to make it, because at least you were getting a chance. And if it was a big case, then you would go straight to you.
Yes, and I also agree with you. Being said is because if not, then the people that made big crimes could have been out and creating even bigger crimes and just making it worse for everyone. But the only thing that I'm not agreeing with is that I don't think that it was fair that whites have chances after chances, but the Negroes would just create one little thing, make one little mistake, and be put in jail for like a long time. Or even if they didn't do nothing, they were still being put in jail. So I don't think it was okay, because it shows how cruel and how bad the inequality is towards whites and blacks. So being said, one thing that did stand out to me in my eyes was when we were watching the film. It showed how crazy the racism is in the prison's life, because 1/3 out of one in 3 African Americans were being arrested and going to jail for lifetime, but 1 in 17 white Americans will go to jail, which is crazy and so sad, because it's based on the difference of the numbers. They have to be like, it's crazy how the numbers are high for blacks but low for whites, and it just shows how unfair life is towards the black people.
Correct. Which also we forgot to mention that 90% of the elected persecutors throughout the
Throughout. Okay, I understand what you're trying to say.
are whites.
Right. You're right about that. I agree. I agree with you, because to say also serious violent criminals do have to serve at least 85% of their crime, which is a good amount of time to have to serve, but at the same time, it can be good, because if it wasn't something bad, well, no, because it's talking about violence, but let's say if it wasn't for the violence, then it would suck being in jail for so long without you being the problem there. So what do you think about it?
I think it is because of a big crime. Yes.
What?
I think if it's
a big
how can
crime?
I say it?
Or
Yeah,
what? of a big crime, or
Because of a big crime, then yes, it's okay. But if it was something minor, I don't think it was okay because they were being put in prison for the smallest reason and for the longest time.
right, which it shows how bad discrimination was and how unfair the criminal justice system and how it continues to be. Because till now, people still being put in jail for no reason. Like, you could have done something little and you're still being put in jail. So let's continue. And by 1990, all the way through the 2000 population, we did have another increase of percentage in the prison's life, and that's so because, like I said, discrimination was everywhere, and people were being offensive about it and trying to come back for the nation because that's how they were being treated. So by then, Bill Clinton had signed a bill which the problem had worsened throughout the years, but then he admitted that he did a mistake, and everyone was happy that they realized that it was a mistake and that it shouldn't have been done that way by signing the bill. Right? Yeah.
So that's when Africans Americans were afraid and asked themselves, why should they trust them?
Trust who?
Trust to end the area of mass incarnation.
Incarnation?
I think it's incarnation.
Yeah, incarnation.
So by the time we have another increase,
Yeah, in
the prison population by 2001, which it was already at 878,400 prisoners.
Yes. I'm sorry. And people were starting to get scared because the U.S. population of prisoners has never been so high as it is now. Well, was by then. And a lot of people were scared because they had to be ready because they didn't know when there's someone that could attack them, because there was always limbs and heads laying everywhere around the place. So they had to prepare themselves because they even had bombs exploding across the streets and their houses was always shaking. So they were afraid that they could, basically the Negroes could attack them at any time, which it also affected a lot because it made population increase even more because they were trying to come back for them. So that was something that was always going on, which it was a big increase in the population. Once again, by 2014, they did have a standing of prisoners of black males at 2,306,200 prisoners, maybe, or even higher. I'm not sure. Making up numbers. So yeah, so it scared people because, like it said, population was never that high, and they didn't know what to expect from them because they were never used to that.
Population was how it was because you have the right to stand your ground and kill someone if you feel threatened or even if it's self-defense.
So you're telling me they had that, like they were able to do that?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you're right, because as in the film, it showed how, what was his name, Mr. Sermon, I think, I don't know. It was a guy that shot a 17-year-old just because he felt threatened over the kid just walking, and he felt threatened because the kid was just walking and he was a black male. Once again, it always black people. They feel threatened over black people because they're scared. As we said, they didn't know what to expect from a black male. They were scared. They were terrified. They didn't know how to react over it. And there was a law that said you could stand your ground and defend yourself. So Mr. Sermon, I believe that was his name, he did kill the 17-year-old just because he felt threatened, even though the 17-year-old kid was not doing anything to him. He was not even aware of what was going on. So it's crazy to say how you was given the rights to do something like that without having the rights, like without having a, what's it called, a good decision, maybe, no, a good, how can I say it, like without having a good, dang, I don't know how to say it.
Okay.
Like when you know, like when you want to do something but you do no, a good, like, I don't know, you didn't have a good like there was not a reason for you to do it, so you just do it, so that's not okay. I think that's my point of view.
¿Cómo lo digo? I think the 17 years old supposed to be treated, not the other guy, because he was following the 17
He was the
year
one
old.
following the 17-year-old,
So it
so
doesn't
there was
make
no,
sense.
yeah,
Like,
it doesn't make sense that he was being attacked for no reason.
right, and the reason that happened was because Alec passed the law that says to stand your ground and protect yourself, which it was not a right law, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Because I think a lot of people could have just killed anyone for any reason, which a lot of companies support Alec. For example, restaurants, insurance
companies, yeah,
companies, and stores. But after they noticed that Alec was not doing anything right, and instead of improving stuff, improving, it went down, and many companies decided to stop being part of it.
Yes, like you said, companies were supporting Alec. For example, IKEA was supporting them. McDonald's, no, yeah, McDonald's was one of them. As of insurance companies, State Farm was supporting them. So there was a lot of companies that were supporting them throughout the years, but then they started realizing that it was not right for them to support, because instead of helping the community, they were, like, basically they were making money from the bad decisions they were making, so they decided to stop supporting. So yes, Alec was a big push for the number of policies that increase the number of people in prison and to increase the sentences of people who were in jail, which the American people in many ways were being harmed by these polices due to the massive incarceration. Yeah, right. Yeah, incarceration of people that particularly were colored people. Sorry, my baby's snoring back there.
So by then, Alec released another bill called SB 1070 that gave the police the right to stop anyone that looked like an immigrant, which this law failed.
Failed. Yeah, I think failed. I think the
immigration detention facilities.
Oh, you were trying to say failed immigration detention facilities. That. Okay. I was like, what do you mean failed? Okay. So, yes, like you said, there was a law that passed that was giving the rights to people to stop. Just anyone, basically. If you look Mexican, you'll get stopped. If you look black, you'll get stopped and try to be blamed for something you never did. Even Trump said it. It was on, like, Trump was on hand with Alec. Like, he was supporting it. He was like, yeah, that's how it is. Because at that point, he was like, it's not just blacks now, it's also Mexicans. Because he always seen Mexicans as rapists, murderers, or as a bad person just because of our race. So me as a Hispanic is like trying to tell me that I'm a bad person just because of what I am. And I don't think that's fair, because not everyone's the same. Everyone has their own actions. Everyone has, like, the rights to say how they feel. And I don't think that's how life should be, because everyone should have the equality to feel free and be able to do what they want to do and not feel threatened just because you're Hispanic or because you're black. And at the end of the day, like, that's my point of view, and I'm pretty sure that's how a lot of people see it, but at the end of the day, people are going to believe what they want to believe.
Yes, but Alex says that it is going to be right on crime and that it's going to be on the right side of crime, justice, poli- police,
Policies.
policies, and it's going to reform the industry, which is slowly dying,
Slowly dying.
and it is preparing for the next thing that is coming on the new law they are including.
In the new laws that they're including. Well, yeah. Alec is trying to prepare private probation parole, which is saying Alec is not being concerned about the CCA or his interest. So I don't have a financial interest in it. No, they don't have a financial interest in advancing policies to increase the profits of the CCA. I believe so.
Okay. Yes, and it has affected a lot of people until now, because even when Obama was running for president, 30% of black males they lose their rights to vote.
Correct, they did.
Permanently,
they lost, like,
based to the criminal conviction.
Yeah.
Conviction, I think.
Convictions. Yeah, they lost their rights to vote permanently because of their criminal convictions. Because I agree. Yeah, you're correct about that. I think it's crazy how they expect the blacks to act like everything is okay when it's really not. They expect them to stay calm and let them do whatever they want to them just because they're black. Like, in the film, it showed how officers were treating, like, how they were being treated, like how they treated the black people, and it's not fair because no one should be treated that way. They were being thrown on the ground. They would say, "I can't breathe," and the officer would just tell them to shut up, that it doesn't matter, that they don't care. And if the person kept saying something, sometimes they would end up getting killed. And at the end of the day, it shouldn't even matter what color you are, once again, because all lives matter, all lives matter, black lives matter, white lives matter. So I don't think it was okay for all that to happen. I really think it was dumb of them.
I have always believed that the policies use way
policies or police?
Police use way too much violence.
They do. They use a lot of
with
violence
people when they arresting them, and I don't think it's okay for them to do that. Only because that's what make the people get mad and cause them to act up when it could all been done the right way and no one get hurt or anything.
Correct. And it's crazy how many officers still nowadays still use violence when arresting someone, especially if it's a white officer with a black person. They always want to be like, "You did it, and you have no choice, and stay quiet," or they just act mean and be racist. Like, if an officer was to stop, if a white officer, in most cases, I'm not gonna say always, in most cases, if an officer was to stop a white person, they would just be like, "Okay, I'm gonna give you a warning, you're good to go." But if it was a white officer stopping a black person,
or a Mexican,
or yeah, Mexicans, like, automatically that's a ticket to you, and that's not fair. Like, what does it have to be like the race? Like, what does race have to do with this? If the Mexican or the black or the white did the same mistake, why should only blacks and Hispanics pay for that mistake and not the whites? It makes no sense. How, and it shows how much of a human dignity that is, because people are not being treated the same still. Maybe they're not being treated how it used to be treated, but it's still a lot of inequality rights to all of us, because everyone should be treated the same way, I think. So to conclude, like, this video and everything, we should talk about how we think this video has helped us and what we understood along with this video that we talked about. So in my opinion, I think this video was a very good idea for us to watch because it shows how cruel people were and continue to be only because of the color the person is. So I think this documentary is a life-changing thing, and it opened up my eyes to see what people and everyone around us go through, and it helped us understand that not everything that happens is based just on color. It's based about what everything surrounding us is, how maybe not things are being done the same way, but how some things are. And I just think everyone should get the rights they should get. And yeah, how do you think about this video?
In my opinion, I think that it's a good video for all of us, and it's something new for.
Sorry. Okay, go.
¿En qué estaba? What was the question?
Yeah, you were talking about like, what do you think about the video?
Okay. Yes.
Lo
I
último
agree.
es mío.
Hmm?
Lo último es mío.
Oh my god.
Sorry.
On my opinion, I think it's a good video for all of us. And it's something new for me too. Because I never knew how people could be so cruel. And how big the problem. The big when it came to races. And I was aware of. I was aware.
And you were? Yeah, I think you were. I don't know. Only you know.
Racist. Like, yo no sabía.
Oh, you didn't know. Okay.
It's
how racism was.
It's everywhere, but not what it was this big of a problem. And the people who kill people only because of their color. My way of things, I throw.
What?
I thought it was more like a.
Throughout it? I thought you thought about it?
Yeah.
Okay, you think it was okay.
Yeah,
okay,
I think it was more like just a discrimination, but nothing to the point to kill someone. I think everyone should watch the video like this so they can understand how bad the situation was, so it won't be made now.
Yes. I agree with you. I think this film is should be an eye-opening to a lot of people, because we need change in this world so everyone could be free and have the rights of doing anything they want and not being scared by laws or by anyone, as long as you're not doing anything bad. So I think I would recommend this this film to many people so they can watch and they could see how hard life was back then and how life continues to be hard for people, and just so people could see how crucial everything was back then, that they had to go through prisoners had to go through so much, especially black males. So yeah. Okay, thank you for watching, guys. Oh well, teacher.